Is this, at last, the true face of the Trump administration's foreign policy? United States ground troops withdrawn from Syria at short notice. The long-heralded departure of James Mattis, a much-respected defense secretary who can clearly no longer tolerate the president's mercurial approach to security and defense. Now, there are reports, as yet unconfirmed, about a partial United States pullout from Afghanistan, where its forces provide the backbone of the train and assist effort that is helping the Afghan security forces in their faltering efforts to contain the Taliban insurgency. In one sense, none of this should be a surprise. United States President Donald Trump has long railed against the wars bequeathed to America by his predecessors. Many analysts question the value of the United States troop presence in Syria, just as they point to the inherent problems in seeking to bolster an Afghan government driven by corruption, factional infighting and so on. But to cite the deficiencies of these deployments and to question where they are going or what value they bring is one thing. To simply up sticks and depart is quite another. Withdrawal, just as much as intervention, requires a game plan, a strategic framework into which Washington's own actions are placed. And the simple fact is that President Donald Trump does not seem to do strategy. How, for example, does the United States withdrawal from Syria fit into any coherent plan either to stabilize the country and to contain the sizeable elements of the Islamic State group that still remain? How does it help the United States to counteract Russia and Iran's rising influence in the region? And what signal does it send to America's allies about its commitment to their security? The departure of Defense Secretary Jim Mattis raises many similar questions. Yes, he resigned, but he had clearly fallen out of favor with Mr. Trump weeks ago. He had fought a hardened pragmatic campaign against the president's disdain for Washington's NATO allies. Indeed, despite the rhetoric coming from the White House, United States deployments of troops and equipment to Europe have increased significantly on Mr. Trump's watch. Mr. Trump's Syria withdrawal, of course, is Washington's Kurdish allies in a predicament potentially caught between three fighters: that of the Turks, who are threatening a further encroachment into northern Syria, the remnants of IS, and the Bashar al-Assad government, which also has scores to settle. Many United States experts see in Mr. Trump's actions a betrayal which will long resonate in the region and beyond. But it is the strategic question that is fundamental. The world is certainly changing. China, a major new power, is rising. Russia, a resurgent player, seeks to return to the world stage, and has chosen the Middle East as the first region in which it seeks to flex its muscles. From their rise, other less powerful countries are taking an example, arguing that a market economy can coexist with an authoritarian form of government. In many cases, this is boosted by a rising tide of populism, and this extends into the West, afflicting once settled Scandinavia, countries on the main European landmass, and across the Atlantic to the United States itself. The linkage of market economics and liberal democracy that seemed to triumph at the end of the Cold War is now on the back foot, having to defend itself from a variety of challenges. America's allies are looking to Washington more than ever for a far-sighted strategy that can help all of them to resist these new challenges. But no coherent strategy is offered. The president ignores the expert voices in his own administration and policy changes. But what is to be left behind in Syria, Afghanistan or anywhere else where President Trump's fleeting gaze lands? Let's be clear, the arguments for a continued United States presence in Syria are indeed even ultimately in Afghanistan are complex, difficult and by no means always convincing. President Trump's predecessors made many errors along the way. These were situations that went badly wrong. But a precipitate withdrawal may only make matters worse. To the dismay of its friends and allies, the United States seems to have no grand strategy for the Middle East. The current balance of power means that it has fewer levers to pull, and certainly cannot enforce any settlement in Syria on its own. But Mr. Trump appears to be washing his hands and handing the whole job over to Russia, Turkey and Iran. This absence of a strategic approach is reflected in so many other areas too, on climate change and arms control. Mr. Trump is at variance with Washington's closest friends. He is ambivalent towards Russia, and his efforts to engage the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un amount to little more than mutual flattery and studied obfuscation of the real issues. After Mr. Trump's first year in office, I went to Washington to make a program looking at what had changed in defense and wider security policy over the past 12 months. Surprisingly, the answer then was very little. Block out the noise, the tweets and pronouncements from the White House press room, and it was the Pentagon that seemed to be steering a familiar course. Now, though, things have undoubtedly changed. That helps mind Jim Mattis is departing. President Trump seems to be charting his own erratic course through an ocean of reefs, rocks and monsters without any strategic map to guide him. A poacher has been ordered to watch the Disney film Bambi repeatedly after he was convicted of illegally killing hundreds of deer. Missouri hunter David Barry, Jr. must view the film at least once a month during his year-long sentence. He was arrested in August along with 2 family members for killing the deer, taking their heads and leaving their bodies to rot. Prosecutors said it is reportedly one of the biggest poaching cases in Missouri history. On top of the jail sentence for the illegal deer hunting, Judge Robert George ordered Barry Jr. to view the Walt Disney movie Bambi, with the first viewing being on or before December 23,
2018,
and at least one such viewing each month thereafter. During his spell in prison, the 1942 cartoon about woodland creatures shows a hunt to kill the mother of eponymous deer character Bambi. A months-long investigation, spanning several states, led to the arrest of Barry Jr., his father David Barry, Sr., and his brother Kyle Barry, according to a local newspaper, the Springfield News-Leader. While the total number of deer taken illegally is unknown, Lawrence County's conservation agent Tandy Barnes said it could be several hundred. Barry Jr. received a year-long sentence in Lawrence County Prison after pleading guilty to illegally taking wildlife. He has also been sentenced to a 1-to-0 term in Barton County Prison for a firearms probation violation, and both he and his father had their hunting privileges revoked for life by the Missouri Conservation Commission. The United States military says it has killed 62 fighters from the Islamist group al-Shabab in 6 airstrikes in Somalia. 4 airstrikes on Saturday killed 32 militants, and a further 2 on Sunday killed 28. It said in a statement, "These were the deadliest air attacks in Somalia since November 2017, when the United States said it had killed 100 militants." Somalia has seen a sharp increase in the number of airstrikes and casualties since President Donald Trump took office in the United States in January 2017. A tally by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that at least 400 people have been killed in airstrikes since the beginning of 2017, far more than the previous 10 years combined. The latest strikes bring to at least 40 the number carried out in Somalia so far this year, compared with 35 recorded in 2017. The United States has a huge military base in neighboring Djibouti, from where it launches attacks on the militants. Mr. Trump gave the United States military greater authority in March 2017 to attack militants in Somalia. Traditionally, United States presidents have been wary of intervening in Somalia, since it and special forces soldiers died fighting militias in the capital Mogadishu in 1993, a battle dramatized in the film Black Hawk Down. No civilians were killed in the latest airstrikes, which were carried out in coordination with the Somali government.